There is a monster that haunts the edges of our peace. It does not always look like a demon with horns or a beast with claws. Sometimes it looks like tomorrow. Sometimes it looks like a mistake we made 10 years ago. Sometimes it takes the shape of a whispering voice that tells us we are not good enough, that we are unsafe, or that God has abandoned us to the darkness. We have all felt the cold breath of this monster. We have all lain awake at night, paralyzed by the fear of what might happen, or the fear of the spiritual battle that seems too great for our weary souls. But what if I told you that this monster, for all its roaring and gnashing of teeth, is bound by a chain? What if I told you that the great Saint of Pietrelcina, Padre Pio, saw the devil not as a conqueror, but as a chained dog that can only bite you if you are foolish enough to step inside his circle? Today, we are going to walk alongside one of Padre Pio's most beloved spiritual daughters, Raffaelina Cerase. We are going to explore the paralyzing anxiety she felt, the terrifying visions of the enemy that plagued her, and the profound, liberating remedy that Padre Pio gave her. We are going to learn why the greatest weapon against the devil is not fear, and not even direct combat, but a holy, courageous contempt. Before we open the letters of this great saint and discover the secret to silencing the barking dog, let us take a moment to gather our hearts. If you are carrying a burden today, a fear that wakes you in the night, or a worry for someone you love, I invite you to leave it in the comments below. Write it down as a way of handing it over. If the words are too heavy or hard to find, simply type Amen. And as you scroll, if you see a prayer from a brother or sister that moves you, please reply with a word of encouragement. Let us be the ones who remind each other that we are not fighting alone. In the early years of his ministry, Padre Pio found himself guiding a soul of immense nobility and immense suffering. Her name was Raffaelina Cerase. She was a woman of high standing, born into a noble family, yet her soul was often trapped in the damp, dark trenches of spiritual anxiety. Raffaelina loved God deeply. She desired nothing more than to please him. But this desire, pure as it was, had been twisted by the enemy into a paralyzing scrupulosity. Scrupulosity is a heavy cross. It is a spiritual condition where the conscience becomes hypersensitive, seeing sin where there is no sin, and seeing mortal danger in every minor imperfection. For Raffaelina, the spiritual life was not a walk in a garden. It was a walk through a minefield. She was terrified of the devil. She feared that at any moment the enemy would snatch her away from Christ. She feared that her prayers were not enough, that her confessions were incomplete, and that the future held only darkness and spiritual defeat. This was not a casual worry. This was a deep, trembling dread. She felt the presence of the enemy, the ugly one, as Padre Pio called him, lurking around every corner of her mind. She wrote to Padre Pio, pouring out her heart, confessing her terror that the devil was winning, that he was too strong, and that she was too weak to withstand his assaults. When Padre Pio received these letters, his reaction was not what one might expect. He did not panic. He did not rush to perform an exorcism. He did not validate her terror. Instead, with the tenderness of a father and the precision of a surgeon, he began to dismantle the very foundation of her fear. He understood something about the devil that Raffaelina, and many of us, often forget. He understood the rules of the engagement. Padre Pio wrote back to her, and his words ring out across the century to us today. He told her that her anxiety, her agitation, and her fear were more pleasing to the devil than her actual sins. Why? Because sin can be forgiven in a moment of contrition, but anxiety paralyzes the soul and stops it from moving toward God. Anxiety freezes us. It makes us focus on the darkness rather than the light. And then he gave her the image that changes everything. He told her to imagine a ferocious dog, a beast with foaming jaws, barking, growling, lunging, trying to tear apart anyone in sight. It is a terrifying image. But then, he told her to look closer. This dog is attached to a heavy, unbreakable chain, and the other end of that chain is held firmly in the hand of Jesus Christ. Padre Pio explained to Raffaelina, the devil is like a mad dog tied by a chain. Beyond the length of the chain, he cannot seize anyone, and you, therefore, keep at a distance. If you approach too near, you let yourself be caught. Let us sit with this image for a moment. It is profound in its simplicity. The dog is dangerous, yes. Padre Pio never denied the reality of evil. He fought the devil physically and spiritually his entire life. He knew the dog could bite, but he also knew the physics of the spiritual world. The devil has a radius. He has a limit. He is a creature, and like all creatures, he is subject to the permission and the power of the Creator. The devil can bark. He can make a terrible noise. He can threaten. He can show you visions of disaster. He can whisper that you are doomed. But he cannot bite you unless you step inside the circle of his chain. So, the question we must ask ourselves, and the question Padre Pio was asking Raffaelina, is this: how do we step inside the circle? We do not walk up to the devil on purpose. We do not want to be bitten. So how do we end up within reach of his jaws? We step inside the circle through two main avenues: fascination and fear. Some people step inside through fascination, toying with sin, thinking they are strong enough to handle it. But Raffaelina's problem, and the problem for many faithful people, was not fascination. It was fear. When we are terrified of the dog, when we stare at it, when we analyze its barking, when we obsess over its movements, we are drawn toward it. Anxiety acts like a magnet. When Raffaelina spent her days worrying about the devil's attacks, she was mentally and spiritually staring at the dog. She was giving the enemy her attention. And in the spiritual life, attention is a form of currency. What you attend to, you give power to. Padre Pio saw that Raffaelina was exhausting herself trying to fight the dog on her own terms. She was trying to out-argue the devil. She was trying to reason with her anxiety. She was trying to prove her safety to herself. And every time she engaged in this mental wrestling match, she was stepping closer and closer to the chain. Padre Pio's instruction to her was radical. He did not tell her to fight harder. He told her to despise the temptation. He wrote to her, "Despise the temptation and embrace the cross." And elsewhere, he advised her to treat these fears with holy indifference. This distinction is vital. When you fight something, you acknowledge it as an equal rival. You engage with it. If a person shouts an insult at you on the street, and you stop to shout back, you have engaged them. You have given them your time. But if you walk past them, head held high, ignoring their words as if they were nothing more than the wind, you have despised the insult. You have rendered it powerless. Padre Pio wanted Raffaelina to treat the devil's barking with this kind of holy contempt. He wanted her to understand that because she belonged to Christ, the devil was beneath her, not because of her own strength, but because of who was holding her hand. Imagine the scene. Raffaelina is in her room. The shadows are lengthening, and the familiar panic begins to rise in her chest. The thoughts come. You are not saved. You did not confess correctly. The enemy is going to destroy you. The dog is barking. In the past, she would have argued. She would have reviewed her confession in her mind 1,000 times. She would have wept and pleaded. She would have stepped into the circle. But now, armed with Padre Pio's wisdom, she attempts a new path. She hears the barking. She acknowledges it is there, but she does not turn to look. She says to her soul, "That is just the noise of a chained beast. It has nothing to do with me. I am looking at Jesus." Padre Pio taught her that when the enemy sees he is being ignored, he falls into a rage, but he also loses his power. The devil is proud. He cannot stand to be despised. He craves attention, even if that attention is fear. when a soul refuses to give him the satisfaction of fear. He eventually retreats, tugging uselessly at his chain. This was not an easy lesson for Raffaelina. It required a complete restructuring of her internal world. It required her to trust that ignoring the threat was safer than analyzing it. It is counterintuitive. Our survival instinct tells us to keep our eyes on the predator. If there is a wolf in the room, watch the wolf. But Padre Pio says, no, watch the shepherd. The shepherd has the wolf on a leash. In one of his letters, Padre Pio elaborates on this holy fear versus servile fear. He tells her that there is a fear that comes from God and a fear that comes from the enemy. The fear that comes from God is a fear of offending love. It is a tender, reverent caution. It makes us careful, like someone carrying a precious vase across a polished floor. We are careful not to drop it because we love the vase. This is holy fear. It brings peace, humility, and a desire to be better. But the fear that comes from the enemy, the fear Raffaelina was suffering, is servile. It is the fear of a slave before a tyrant. It is bitter. It is agitated. It dries up the soul. It makes us doubt God's goodness. It whispers that God is waiting for us to fail so he can punish us. Padre Pio was adamant. This fear must be rejected. It is a lie. Rejoice, he told her. Rejoice in the Lord. It seems like an impossible command to someone in the grip of anxiety. How can I rejoice when I am terrified? You rejoice by an act of the will. You rejoice by declaring the truth against the lie. The truth is that the chain is short. The truth is that the devil cannot read your heart. Only God can do that. The devil can only guess at what is inside you by observing your reactions. If he barks and you jump, he knows he has found a weak spot. If he whispers a worry about the future and you spend 3 days obsessing over it, he knows he has hooked you. Padre Pio urged Raffaelina to become transparent to these attacks. Let them pass through. Do not grab onto them. He used to say, the devil is like a heavy traffic noise outside your window. You cannot stop the traffic. You cannot silence the horns. But you do not have to go out into the street and lie down in front of the cars. You can stay in your house. You can continue your work. You can focus on the conversation you are having with a friend inside. The friend inside is Jesus. The house is the sanctuary of your soul. There is a story told of Padre Pio himself, later in his life, that illustrates this perfect detachment. One night, the devil was assaulting him in his cell, a physical and terrifying manifestation. The sounds were horrific. The next morning, a fellow friar asked him, "Padre, were you not afraid?" Padre Pio looked at him with tired but peaceful eyes and said, "Why should I be afraid? It is only the enemy. If it were God who was angry with me, then I would be afraid. But the devil? He is nothing. He is nothing." This is the perspective he wanted Raffaelina to adopt. It is the perspective he wants us to adopt. The monster is loud, but he is nothing compared to the power of Christ. Padre Pio often reminded Raffaelina of the presence of her guardian angel. This was another key part of his strategy to reduce her fear. He told her that she was never, ever alone in the room with the dog. "Your guardian angel," he wrote, "who has never left you for a single moment, is there to defend you. When we feel anxiety, we feel isolated. Fear creates a silo. We feel that no one understands, that we are the only ones facing this darkness. Padre Pio shatters this illusion. He tells us that we are surrounded by an invisible army. The dog may be there, but so is the prince of the heavenly host. So is the angel assigned to guard us from birth. Imagine the confidence of walking past a chained dog when you are accompanied by a warrior who could crush the beast with a single glance. That is the reality of the Christian life. We are walking with champions. Raffaelina's journey was not one of overnight success. She struggled. She fell back into fear. She wrote frantic letters. And each time, Padre Pio pulled her back to the truth. "Do not fear," he would write. "Fear is the only thing you have to fear." He taught her that even her falls, even her mistakes, were not a reason for terror. If she fell, she was to get up immediately, without agitated sadness. Agitated sadness is pride, he would say. It is our ego being hurt that we are not perfect. Humble sadness simply says, "Lord, I am weak. Forgive me. I love you," and moves on. This is a crucial point for us today. Many of us are tormented by our pasts. We look back and see the times we stepped into the circle, the times we got bitten. We carry the scars of the bites, and we let the memory of those bites paralyze us today. Padre Pio would say to us, "The past is in the mercy of God. The future is in the providence of God. The present is in the love of God." If you have been bitten in the past, it does not mean the chain has broken. It means you got too close. The remedy is not to sit and stare at the wound in horror. The remedy is to step back. Step back into the arms of Christ. Step back into the confessional. Step back into trust. The devil wants you to believe that because you were bitten once, you belong to him. That is the lie of the chained dog. He wants you to think the chain doesn't exist. He wants you to think he can chase you down the street. But he cannot. He is bound. As we reflect on Raffaelina's struggle, we can see ourselves in the mirror. We live in an age of anxiety. We are constantly bombarded with barking. The news barks at us with stories of doom. Our bank accounts bark at us with fears of scarcity. Our health barks at us with fears of illness. Our culture barks at us with moral confusion. It is so easy to stand there, mesmerized by the noise, trembling, waiting for the bite. But Padre Pio calls us to a higher dignity. He calls us to close our ears to the barking and open our hearts to the master of the house. He advises us to be like little children. A child holding her father's hand might see a scary dog and tremble for a moment, but then she looks up at her father. She sees that he is calm. She sees that he is strong. And because he is not afraid, she realizes she does not need to be afraid either. Jesus is not afraid of the devil. Jesus is not worried about the economy. Jesus is not anxious about the future of the world. He has already conquered it. If we are holding his hand, we share in his victory. There is a practical way to apply this despising of the enemy that Padre Pio taught. It involves the use of short, powerful prayers, what the Church calls aspirations. When the fear comes, when the dog barks, do not start a debate in your head. Do not say, "But what if this happens? What if that happens?" Instead, shoot an arrow of love to God. Say, "Jesus, I trust in you." Say, "My Jesus, mercy." Say, "Sweetheart of Mary, be my salvation." These short prayers act as a shield. They turn our attention instantly away from the dog and towards the master. They break the hypnotic spell of anxiety. Every time you say, "Jesus, I trust in you," you are stepping back from the radius of the chain. You are moving out of biting range and into the safety of the shepherd's embrace. Padre Pio also taught Raffaelina that this battle with fear was, in itself, a path to holiness. It seems strange to think that anxiety can be a tool for sanctification, but in the hands of God, everything can be used for good. By having to constantly choose trust over fear, Raffaelina was building spiritual muscle. She was learning that her safety did not lie in her own feelings, but in God's truth. If she felt safe, she was safe. If she felt terrified, she was still safe. Her feelings were the weather. God's protection was the mountain. The weather does not move the mountain. This is a liberation for us. We often think, "I will be holy when I stop feeling anxious." Padre Pio says, "No, you become holy by trusting God in the midst of your anxiety. You can be a saint with shaking hands. You can be a saint with a racing heart. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to let fear dictate your actions. It is the refusal to let the barking dog drive you away from the path of prayer." Toward the end of her life, Raffaelina found a peace that had eluded her for years. It wasn't that the devil stopped hating her. He likely hated her more as she grew closer to God. But she had learned the secret. She had learned to look at the chain. She had learned to despise the noise. She had learned to rest in the radius of grace, which is far, far larger than the radius of the enemy. Padre Pio's guidance to her is his legacy to us. He offers us a new way to view our nightmares. When you lay your head down tonight and the thoughts begin to swirl, the worries about your children, the stress of your job, the regret of your sins, picture the scene. Picture the darkness. Picture the fears as a beast. But then turn on the light of faith. See the heavy iron chain around the beast's neck. Follow the chain with your eyes. Follow it all the way to the other end. See the hand that holds it. It is a hand marked by a nail. It is a hand that created the stars. It is a hand that has never lost a battle. That hand is holding the evil in check. It will not allow you to be tested beyond your strength. It will not allow the dog to break loose. Your job is not to kill the beast. Your job is simply to stay close to the hand. Pray, hope, and don't worry. We see these words on bumper stickers and magnets, and they can sometimes feel trite. But when we understand the theology behind them, the theology of the chained dog, they become a battle cry. Pray, keep the connection with the Master. Hope, trust in the strength of the chain and the goodness of God. Don't worry. Do not step into the circle. Do not give the enemy the satisfaction of your fear. As we conclude this reflection, let us take a moment to breathe in that freedom. You are not the prey. You are the child of the King. The enemy is a chained nuisance, nothing more. Let the dog bark, let the winds blow. You keep your eyes on the face of Christ. For in his gaze there is no fear, only the eternal, unshakable safety of love. Thank you for walking this path with us today. May the peace of Christ, which surpasses all understanding, guard your hearts and your minds. And may the intercession of Padre Pio give you the courage to walk past the barking dogs of life with your head held high, knowing exactly who holds the chain.